Hello everyone and welcome to another CSBP Fertiliser Market Update. My name's Josh Russell, filling in for Gray Johnson, and with me today is CSBP's Sales and Reliability Manager, Ben Sudlow. Ben, how are you?
Great, thank you. Excellent, Josh.
Bit of rain around the regions. Can you tell us how everything's looking?
Well, I haven't been out there, but I can tell you that we're recording on Friday. There was rain again last night, and there was rain earlier in the week. So it just keeps coming a bit well, and I think the Geraldton zone seems to be like the centre of the rainfall this year, and Benue has become the new Franklin.
You last spoke to Gray a fortnight ago. Can you tell us in the last 2 weeks what's happened between then and now in global markets?
So touch on a couple of things of significance. Firstly, potash, and as I've just explained, potash is my favourite macronutrient. It's like having I've got 3 daughters, favourite child. I don't have one of the favourite childs, but what I do have, Josh, is a favourite macronutrient, and that's K. And finally, there's something to talk about in K, the K markets in the last 10 days. We've spoken before about the waiting. At some point, the contract price for China in India's like been settled. That's been sort of banging around the market since May. And in the last 10 days, finally, the deal has been done. So China settled. Not long after then, India settled. Now, but the combined 2 volumes of those settling is somewhere in the vicinity of sort of 15 to 20 million tonnes of annual potash a year. Big volumes. And in context of where they've settled at, it's priced around about 34 to 37 US less than what their last contract was settled at. So, which is earlier in the calendar year for context of time. And the other part of that is the producers are now saying, which often happens, you hit those big markets with a price, that's then typically in the past has set a floor, of which then prices then around the markets might move around. And I think the producers have got a desire that this would bring a floor into the market for the near term, probably 3 or maybe 6 months. But broadly speaking, the price is down by 35 US a tonne across the market, and perhaps that does create a floor for the near term.
So given that, Ben, that perhaps there's been a new floor set, what does that mean to us in the near term going forward?
Well, I mean, we're out of season as far as buying, but we're looking at coming to buying at the back end of this year to get stock ready for the new year, and recognising that we probably the West Australian market bought probably slightly after when the price was set last time. So probably, if anything, there's probably a little bit of a downward pressure on prices locally, but maybe that will be recognised or realised in the local market at some point through into the back end of this year, if the prices hold at the levels they are now.
Really good update. What about phosphorus? Has there been any movements in the last 2 weeks?
Now that's probably my least favourite child of the 3 of the macronutrients. And look, probably prices have been generally firming, and look, that's probably not much more to say than that. In the last 10 days, they probably haven't moved a great deal further than what they've done in the lead up to that. So yeah, there's probably not a lot with phosphate, other than that we have got some phosphate to sell. If anyone wants to take any position now, then there's some available.
Okay, that's really good for people out there thinking about phosphate. And then the child that you don't love the most, but you don't hate the most, nitrogen. What's happening in the nitrogen world?
Nitrogen middle child. Okay, so the last 10 days, but the most significant thing has been another Indian tender. If you remember, they come out, they often become the bellwether of price movement, either over-exaggerated price move down or over-exaggerated price move up, depending on how the producers and traders play it. So what happened was they put out a tender, there was bids to the tender, and Indians then take the price of the lowest offer, and then they hope that the other people from the tender will actually then get the option to sell the low price. Now what happened this time, that moved the price down a bit, probably 10 US a tonne, but then they go back to the next highest bidder and they say, well, will you take it at the low price? And a lot of the next highest prices, no, we're not going to go that price. And they ended up mopping up at around about just over 400,000 tonnes in the tender. Most significantly, China didn't bid into the tender, so sort of without China, the Indians have really not been able to get the market down. A lot of producers just backed out, and the prices then just stabilised back at the level that it has been. So it hasn't been exaggerated price movement down, as some thought, but yet it also hasn't seen prices move up. And this is for product out of India that would go into for supply through to, I think it was the 27th of August that was to be supply. And look, pretty much this time of year, urea, where last shipments of coming in or priced, so there's relatively insignificant to the West Australian market.
I think you talked to Gray about local manufacture and setting us up for the next few months.
Yeah.
Where are we at with Flexi-N?
It's a good time from this last rain that we've had in the last 2 or 3 days has been terrific. People will look at if there's a chance to optimise yield a bit further. We are starting to see that swing from solid fertiliser, urea and NS blends right through to liquids now as the ease of application at the back end of the season goes, typically moves towards Flexi-N. As far as the price goes, urea's moved up, and probably since when Russia went into Ukraine in February 22, there's been a disconnect between UAN prices, Flexi-N prices moved up relative to urea, and the cost of nitrogen in Flexi-N became disproportionately high. In the current market, with urea up where it is, Flexi-N prices on the offshore markets are still haven't moved up like urea has, and they're getting back more into that more affordability band that we saw sort of around that time prior to Russia going to Ukraine.
Ben, would it be right to assume then, given where prices are at and there is still some time in the growing season left, it would be a good time to lock in pre-fill volumes as well and get your tanks full while we're at a good price point?
I mean, that's ultimately the farmer customers need to make their decision about when's a good time to fill. The price point seems sensible based on history. Look, we right now believe if you can get stuff in the tank and you're going to get a chance to put on your crop, that's fantastic. It means you're making a confident decision about optimising yield this year. But we do have stock available, and we're starting looking at then filling tanks now for use now, or if not, then it rolls forward into next year. And then we're offering then terms to make sure if it's going into next year's tanks for next year's use, you don't have any cash flow effect on taking the product early, which probably for us might be in September or into October.
Thanks, Ben. I think that's been a fantastic market summary of your three macronutrients and where they are at globally as well. We have got stock available. If you want to pre-fill tanks or look to fill tanks, please talk to your local CSBP account manager. Until next time, I'm Josh Russell. Thanks for tuning in.
This podcast is provided as general information only. The content of this podcast is not a recommendation and has been prepared without taking your objectives or circumstances into account. Before acting on the content of this, you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances and seek independent advice.